My bad, y'all. Time flies when you procrastinate. Hold on. I started my workout super late and I was sitting in the sauna and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get on at 9 o'clock. So that's my bad. That is my bad. Let me go ahead and make a poll. Oh God, did you tell me something you learned this week? Okay, got the poll. We're good to go. It's a Sunday. You know, I try to stay on longer for Sunday, but not gonna lie to y'all. I had a kind of rough weekend, so I'm pretty tired. And I didn't eat much today. So there's a possibility that I might not stay on for 3 hours like normally. But you can count on getting a good hour from me minimum. And we'll see where it goes from there. Last time the live was not very lively. So we'll see what happens today. The more people talk, the more I want to stay on. The less people talk, the less it makes me want to stay on. Hold on one second, y'all. Okay, I'm back. I'm back and I'm back and I'm better. Hold on, one more text. All right, I'm actually back now. I'm back and I'm back and I'm better. I'm back and I'm better. Someone voted yes on the poll and they have not told me something that they learned this week. You're watching Titanic, bro? Why is it on that channel? Let me see if I got that. We can watch Titanic together, very romantic. I don't even know how to search channels, so sorry, I don't want to watch Titanic because I just saw another show and I want to see what this is. Idiotest. Dímelo, parce. ¿Cómo va todo? ¿Todo? No, todo bien, no me puedo quejar. Pero mucho tiempo sin verte. ¿Cómo has estado? Te vi la... No, en el vivo pasado no. Pero last Sunday, sí. Pero no te vi en el último. Ah, ¿estás en Colombia? ¿Qué parte? ¿Cuál parte? ¿Tienen familia en Colombia? Bogota. Algún día quiero conocer Bogotá, pero me han dicho que hay mucho peligro allá. How long I've been working out for? It would depend on what you're really asking, because I've been an athlete like literally my entire life. So I started working out when I was a little kid. But I was a basketball player growing up. I played basketball and baseball. Then I dropped baseball and I ran track and played basketball. Then I dropped basketball and I went to college. I ran Division 1 track. And then after I got done with that, that's when I started like taking lifting weights seriously. I mean, at that point in time, I still probably lifted like more than most people do in the gym, but I was like, you know what? I could probably like compete in weightlifting. And so that's what I started doing, like type 2018, 2017, maybe. No, 2016. I did my first weightlifting competition in 2016. So I started training the year before. 2015, I was training more seriously. Before then, like I said, like 2010 and 2015, I was just going in the gym, just squatting, deadlifting, benching, but I wasn't doing it for any reason. I just like lifting heavy weights. Which events in track? A lot, bro. So I got my high school record is in the 800. We got the 4x4 record. We got the 4x8 record. Nah, I lied. My 800 record got knocked off bad because we had a guy run 149, but we still got the 4x4 and the 4x8. But when I went to college, I dropped down to the two, um, and I would run the 60 and the 100 too. It's cause like basically because I played so many sports, I ran a lot, right? And I didn't realize that I was like a super fast twitch dude because my dad will be like, you need to hit the road. You need to run 6 to 8 miles every day if you want to be in shape. So I always was good at running distance because I did it so much, but I wasn't built for it. And so I'll be like, dang, how these dudes be like running the 8, not even breathing hard? Um, Cause I started off as a miler in middle school. I was running a mile. I still ran cross country until I went to college. Actually, I ran cross country in college too. But so I started off as a miler and a 2 miler. But I was just like, bro, even though I'm doing okay, it's just so hard to run it. Like no matter what, how much training I put in, it never feels easy. I'm just doing it. I'm just good at it. But like I said, I started getting around some real dudes, some real milers, real 800 guys, and I was like, hell nah, bro, I'm not built for this. So I started like asking the coaches, like, yo, can I jump in on the 400 time trials, 200 time trials, and I'll be winning them joints. And I'm like, bro, I don't even train for this, and I'm like smoking these dudes. So it took me going to college to realize that I was like built to sprint. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, unfortunate. We don't know what could have been if I would have started off sprinting, but it's not my dad's fault. My dad was just he was just doing what he was told. Like they told him growing up, like, oh, running makes your legs so strong, and the more you run, the higher you jump and stuff. Now that I'm a strength and conditioning coach, I'm like, damn, bro, this dude was destroying my fast twitch muscles. Favorite cigarette? I don't smoke. I've never smoked, not even one time in my entire life. 400 is the toughest race. Um, yeah, I think the 800 is harder, but the 400 is definitely a tough race. We always used to have those arguments in college too. They'll be like, the quarter is the real test of a man, and then the 800 runners are like, nah, bro, because you got to do a whole nother lap after that in the 800. But yeah, those are both very tough races. Elizabeth, how are you doing? I miss Colombia a lot. What's my 40 time, Rolando? Here's the thing. I never ran like a football 40 because I never played football. So we would run 40s, but I was doing it in spikes on the track. So it's not the same to me. Like I've clocked a 4.2 and a 4.3 before, but to do that on grass or turf and football cleats to me is harder. So I don't think like I don't know. The 40 just never meant anything to me. So it was just a stepping stone to running a faster 100. It is a full sprint. You're right, but that's what I'm saying. The dudes that are good at the 800, they say the same thing. Um, like those dudes that be, bro. I can't even think of dude's name that just ran that 140. I'm just like, bro, how are you getting around the track that fast? Dudes running people's 400 times on their first lap, bro. Y'all ever seen this show? It's called Idiot Test. It's like a bunch of trick questions. It's pretty entertaining. Can't lie. 4.2 and 4.3 in the 40 is insane. I wouldn't say it's insane. Like I said, bro, running it on a track and spikes is different, bro. And like I said too, it just doesn't mean that much, bro. Like when you put it into perspective, like for a football player, it can mean something. It's like if I give you the ball, you might get here. But in track, it doesn't mean anything because there's lots of people that get out so fast for the first 40 to 60 and they can't hold on. You see it all the time. So for us, like it just didn't mean anything to say that you had a fast 40 and be like, okay, that's not a track event. You know what I mean? This week I learned my uncle's a kitty fiddler. That's very, very sad. I don't know how you found that out, but that sucks. That is unfortunate, man. And I hope the kid gets justice. I hope y'all jumped your uncle before y'all reported him. If you did more than jump him, that's cool too. But it is hard finding stuff like that out. Um, Even though it's not you, you're still like, damn, bro, somebody in my family did that. It's crazy, man. Let's see. 7 people voted. Most people said no. I appreciate y'all saying no instead of saying yes and not commenting something that you learned. I hate when y'all do that. The football team ran on the track with spikes and they took it serious. I think our fastest dudes are running 4.4 and 4.5. That's why being fast on the track didn't necessarily transfer to being good on the football field and vice versa. Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say too. I was gonna say that's that's why it doesn't mean that much to me. Like even for a football player, because I'm like, yeah, sure, if you get like a if you catch a pass and nobody's in front of you and you can just accelerate, that would be cool. But most of the time you're having to cut angles and stuff like that. So just because you could theoretically run a 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, doesn't mean you're ever gonna get a chance to run straight for that long. And if you can't juke nobody, then it don't matter. There's a handful of guys in the past that have been really good at track and on the football field. They just ain't the same. Jeff Demps, I don't know what Jeff Demps ever did. But he was so fast on the track, and I don't think I ever saw him do very good things on the football field. I think he was just good, but he wasn't amazing like he was on track. 7 pairs of glasses. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. See, like on this TV show, right? They said how many pairs of glasses are there, and it was 3 people wearing glasses, and then there was a table, and it had like a bunch of cups on it. And so the answer was really 7, but people are clicking 4 or 3 because they're looking at the people and not the glasses on the table. This girl's name is Narcissa. Why would her parents name her that? Okay, Lisa passes a note to Jill. Jill hands it to Mike. Mike reads it to Chris. Sally overhears and laughs. Then Mr. Good takes it and throws it away. How many people touched the note? Lisa passes it to Jill. I mean, just look at how peak DeAndre Hopkins used to run past dudes. Facts. Lisa passes it to Jill. Jill hands it to Mike. That's 3 people. Mr. Good takes it and throws it away. That'll be 4. I think I got this right. What? She picked 2? She's an idiot. What a dumbass. Alright, I need to find a different show. I'm over it. Ooh, there's a recommended section. Let's see what the algorithm has for me. Noticias Telemundo. Okay. Noticias fin de semana. Mi sueño es bailar. I don't know if that was a good recommended section. I watched the news like 1 time on here, bro. What y'all on, man? What y'all doing? Ooh, I like this show. Cien Latinos Dijeron. It's like Family Feud, but it's in Spanish, basically.
Las 4 respuestas principales ya están en el tablero. Traten de darme la respuesta más popular. Si quieres que te llenen el tanque, ¿de qué sería?
Gasolina.
¿De gasolina?
Dude.
¿Me preguntas o me dices?
Gasolina.
Exacto, estará de gasolina.
I got the #1 answer. I'm the GOAT when it comes to game shows, bro.
Doble y te pregunto, si quieres que te llenen el tanque, ¿de qué sería?
De agua.
De agua, claro, estará un tanque de agua. Ahí está, muy bien. Si quieres que te llenen el tanque, ¿de qué sería?
De café.
Un tanque de café.
Un tanque de café. She sucks, bro. What kind of answer is that?
¿Quieres que te llenen el tanque? ¿De qué sería?
De gas.
Da mucha ternura como te empuja el micrófono, como de Nicolás, van 3 veces que te pido que te pegues al micrófono. Estará tanque de gas.
Sorry, guys. I'm dehydrated. I had to text my wife to bring me some water. Make me sweat. Make me harder. Make me lose my breath. Make me water.
Ale, Adris, está en sus manos. Aquí, acá, muy bien. ¿Estás bien? Muy bien, le estabas dando ataque de oxígeno, ¿verdad? Puntos a triple, le preguntamos a 100 latinos. Hay 4 respuestas principales en el tablero. Tratad de darme la respuesta más popular. Además de triste, ¿cómo puedes sentirte cuando prefieres no hablar? Adris.
Enojado.
Estoy cansado, prefiero no hablar. ¿Será?
I'll say enojado.
La más popular, Ale. Además de triste, ¿cómo puedes sentirte cuando prefieres no hablar?
Enojado.
Estoy enojado, estará enojado.
I always get the #1 answer. Bro, put me on a game show, bro. I'm different, bro. I'm just a winner, man. Hold on.
¿Cómo puedes sentirte cuando prefieres no hablar? Aburrido. Estoy aburrido, no quiero hablar.
No, that doesn't make sense. Horrible answer. Come on, Doug.
Gaby, además de triste, ¿cómo puedes sentirte cuando prefieres no hablar?
Estresado.
Estresado, ¿qué? No quiero hablar, ¿sabes por qué? Porque estoy estresado. Consejos al capitán en voz alta. A la capitana.
Estresado. Enfermo.
Enfermo.
Capitana, te repito la pregunta. Escucha muy bien.
I was going through one of the trash bags where I put my books. The grammar book wasn't in it. I think it might be in a different bag. I'm gonna restart it as soon as I find it. Or you just threw it away, bro.
Deprimido.
Por el juego. Si está entre la 3 y la 4, van por $10,000. Si no, van los guerreros. Acaba de ganar la familia Guerrero con 308 puntos.
That was a good game.
Yo pensaría que triste y deprimido van como por la misma onda. Descubrimos la número 4.
Avergonzado.
¿Ser avergonzado? Ok. La número 3.
Let's see, what was #3?
Con la familia Tanús. Van a entrar entre ellos. Yo espero que no fue tu culpa. No es tu culpa, Rosana. Tú jugaste muy bien, Rosana. Descubrimos la número 3. ¡Enfermo!
Enfermo. Somebody said that.
Ahora sí, acaba de ganar con 308. Despedimos a la familia Tanús con $5,000.
Oh, What are y'all doing, man? I need to be entertained. We need to have some conversations. Or else y'all gonna make me get off. Nah, I said I was gonna stay on for at least an hour. So y'all can ignore me for an hour. But after an hour, if nobody's talking, I'm gonna get off, bro. I will definitely get off.
Venga, vamos por $10,000. Ya tienen
Alright, let's see what this question is.
Tú tienes 20 segundos en el reloj. Buscamos las 5 respuestas principales. Si te trabas con una, me dices. Si hay tiempo, volvemos al final. Recuerda que el tiempo corre. Cuando yo termino de leer la primera pregunta, vista al frente, concentrada, vamos por $10,000. Me encanta dar dinero, porque no es mío. Aparato electrónico que conservas aunque no lo uses.
Tostador.
Algo que relacionas con el Caribe.
Mar.
¿Qué necesitas para saltar en paracaídas?
Paracaídas.
¿Por qué te podría dar hipo?
Comí mucho.
Parte de la casa donde guardas tus adornos navideños.
Un armario.
That's good answers. No word from Will lately? What do you mean? No word from Will? What does that mean? Are you talking about Will in Colombia? We talk about like every day, bro. Kid Hooper, what up? Mr. Cobra Kai. Alright, I need to find another show to watch. Dude Man 209. Dude Man, I know your name, but I feel like I haven't seen your name pop up in like a year, bro. Oh, okay. I was about to say, this name is ringing a bell. What's up, bro? I'm chilling. I'm good. How's life, man? Have you seen a vid by a linguist from the University of Pennsylvania on African American vernacular English? He explains that it's more grammatically complex than basic English. No, I haven't seen it, but I could have told you that. You know, it's actually hilarious. This is hard to explain, but I can 100% tell when an account on Twitter or something is not actually a black person because you basically can't pick up African American vernacular English as an adult. You just don't understand it because you didn't live it. So like the way they use be, I'm just like, that's not how you use it. It's hilarious every time, bro. They're like, I'm a black person, and then they use it, and I'm like, no, you're not. Pretty good, can't complain. That's what's up, bro. Where you at these days? You still dancing and stuff? I feel like I haven't seen you on Twitter. Let's see if I can find something good to watch. Silat Warriors? Deed of Death. That kind of looks like a good movie. One Cut of the Dead. Stalked. Oh, these are like Tubi movies or something. These movies look like some straight BS, but I kind of want to watch it. It be that way? Yeah, like I would never say it'd be that way. Mars murders. History of life on Earth. That could be interesting. Dude, man. Bro, did you give up on learning Spanish? I remember you used to talk about it, but I haven't seen you say anything about it in a long time. It be like that? I would say it be like that. It be like that sometimes. Not all the time. That's Super Libra. No. Once upon a date. I'm still learning. It's a process. It'll probably take me a decade, but that's fine for me. I don't mind taking my time learning Spanish. What is your process, bro? Why is it gonna take 10 years? Like, what is your goal with it? Like, to me, like, okay, let me see how I want to say this. I've seen people say similar things before. I was in a Reddit thread yesterday. I don't know, like, got recommended in my Reddit, and it was like this dude saying he was frustrated learning Spanish, and everyone in there was like, "Bro, don't worry. It's been 10 years. It's been 15 years, and I still can't form sentences. It takes time." And I'm like, "Yeah, not really. Not if you're being any kind of efficient with it." Like, I could point to at least 50 people that were having full conversations in 6 months. So I feel like uh, if it takes a really long time, you just don't know how to go about doing it. Because what happens to a lot of people is they think that whatever they're doing, they're like, well, eventually, if I keep doing this, I will be having conversations, which is not necessarily true. Not necessarily. You work on it every day. What do you do every day, bro? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what is your process? If I move to a Spanish speaking country, I learn it in 6 months. But you don't have to move to a Spanish speaking country to learn it in 6 months. That's what I'm saying. I know more people that have moved to a Spanish speaking country that didn't learn it than I know um, people that did do it. I know 100 people that have never been to a Spanish speaking country that learned it just literally on the internet. That's what I'm saying. I got like certain more or less checkpoints where I'm like, by this time, based on the 100 people that I know that did it, you should be there if you care at all. If you don't care, it doesn't matter. Just a little reading or vocabulary or whatever. Yeah, like I said, man, the problem is the things that people do sometimes are not very efficient. Um, like even I was just about you actually said what I was about to say. What a lot of people say, they think if they did more that they would learn it, but it's not necessarily the case. That's what I'm saying. If you know what to do, you won't have to do that much. It doesn't take much. That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's difficult to like master Spanish, but it's not difficult to have conversations. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make a video with a guy, maybe this weekend or maybe sometime this week. I can't remember, but I've known him for a while, and he declared that he was gonna learn Spanish. I told him like, bro, do this, and this. And he's like 4 months into his journey, and dude makes full videos on Instagram in Spanish. Now the pronunciation, the the grammar, not the greatest in the world, but he's only been doing it for 4 months. I can't expect it to be at the level of someone that's been doing it for 10 years or something, right? But I grew up surrounded by, I guess, African American vernacular English people who spoke like that. Always knew the code switch. I didn't realize it was called Ebonics. I just thought it was slang. I know it's a separate language. Yeah, and like I said earlier, a lot of people that are near it but they didn't grow up speaking it, they think they know how it works because, like you said, not necessarily saying you, but people that have heard it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know how to do that." It's like, nah, you don't. Flashcards with verbs that are similar will help your vocab. For example, notify, notificar, planificar, plan. I'm like a super hater of flashcards. I've never used a flashcard in my life. I actually advise against it, but I'm also a person that says you should do whatever works for you. I just would never use flashcards. The main thing for me is speaking because my reading level is getting better and better. For me, children's books would be best. Yeah, that could help you for sure. But I always ask people like, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? How are the things that you're doing gonna help you achieve that goal? This is not just Spanish, this is anything, right? But in Spanish particularly, lots of people are on apps, Duolingo, they're reading stuff, and they're like, oh, I can read well, I can understand so much, but I can't speak. For one, a lot of times you think you're understanding stuff and you're not understanding it. But let's pretend that you are. If you don't speak, you're not gonna get better at speaking. It just doesn't work like that. Speaking is its own separate skill. That's why we make fun of George Bush. That's why there's lots of people that can't speak. They're native speakers of English, but they still suck at speaking. You have to practice speaking to be good at speaking because there's a little bit of pressure that comes with responding to someone in a timely manner. Of course, if you're just sitting there, you can say, oh yeah, this is what I would say if I was in a conversation. But when someone asks you a question, you have to respond in that moment, and it's not easy. Active recall of vocabulary words is not the same thing as passive. So you can read a book and you can say, I understood 99% of this page, and I could say, okay, tell me what it was about, but in Spanish, and you would be, like you wouldn't remember any of it. So ew, what the fuck am I watching, bro? Oh, it's giving birth. Slimy ass lizard. That's what I was saying. Why moving to a Spanish speaking country would be better for me because I'd be able to converse a lot more. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it definitely could help, but the thing is, how can I explain this? I actually made a video about this, about why moving to a Spanish speaking country doesn't guarantee that you would learn Spanish. Because I met a bunch of people when I lived in Colombia last year that could not speak Spanish, and they would have so much trouble doing stuff. And here's the problem: you, like, when you learned English, maybe not you, because I know you speak some kind of Indian language too. But when native speakers of English learn English, you get to speak to people that are on your level. You get to converse with kids. You get to make jokes. You get to do all kinds of stuff and like develop. As an adult, it's not going to be easy for you to sit down with someone in real life and speak for an hour, 2 hours. Like, people have jobs, bro. They don't want to entertain you trying to pick up the language. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you can learn a few things. You go to the store, they're going to tell you this is a tomato, this is this. But there's a jump that you have to make from not being able to speak to being able to have like a decent conversation. And it's hard to get that as an adult, man, unless you actually have a job where you're working and they're and basically, like I said, talking all day. Because if you know nothing and you just pull up in one of those countries, they probably know more English than you know Spanish. So they're gonna end up cutting you off and be like, "My friend, are you looking for this, my friend?" So did they not talk with locals or interact with locals? Sure, they did when they could, but like I said, if you don't have a certain level, it's not that easy. It's not that easy, my friend. A lot of the world speaks English, or at least if, like I said, if you don't know any Spanish, if you can't have a conversation, they probably know more English than you know their language, and they will start speaking to you in English. Um, so yeah, like I said, it's not that easy. It's just, I know people here in the United States that have been here for 20 or 30 years, and they still don't speak amazing English because there's just more to it. Like I said, you gotta have those uncomfortable conversations. I can do like basic stuff like, can I get a glass but it's fractured? Yeah, see, that's what I mean. So you would be okay in a restaurant, right? Because they would be like, oh, I know he's asking. But if you try to have a conversation with someone on the street, they're not gonna talk to you because they're gonna be like, bro, I don't even know what you're saying. Like, what are you trying to say? Subi, could you tell me, if you had to in Spanish right now, could you tell me what you did today? Did you answer my previous question? Let me see. I don't remember. Jalen, what drills did you do on the daily to learn Spanish? Bro, I don't do any drills. The most drill thing that I do, which I probably still do to this day, even if I don't do it intentionally, is just that when I encounter a new word, I make sentences out of the word. I conjugate it in every possible way that I can. Um, so that when I need to say it, I'm not like, oh, how do you conjugate this? Like, blah, 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 right? It's like I just said, active recall is totally different than passively, like, looking at a word and being like, oh, that means this in English. That's super easy to do. It's not easy to put the sentence together yourself. So I didn't do any exercises in that sense. Like I said, I'm not a flashcard person. I'm not a workbook person. I don't like any of that stuff. I do, it's funny. I do more of that stuff now than I did in the beginning. Because, like I said, I realized that that was like probably the worst thing for me at that time. Like, I needed to be speaking, I needed to be having conversations and learning this stuff in context. But now, as you know, because you have a grammar book too, even though you're a fluent Spanish speaker, when you need to like really refine, it's good to do exercises because a lot of the vocabulary, like academic vocabulary, or like I'm reading a history book in Spanish right now, like a very specific timepiece. It's basically like 1948 to 1978, like the formation of the Communist Party in Colombia, right? All of that vocabulary is not something that I would ever be using in real life unless I was having a conversation about that very particular topic. But it's not something like you come across the street and you're like, hey, let's talk about FARC. Let's talk about the paramilitary in Colombia. Like, we're never going to talk about that stuff. So to understand those kind of sentences better and to be able to speak those kind of sentences better, I have to actively do something with it. But for daily stuff, I never did any exercises or drills or anything. Besides, like, Will force me to do stuff like certain exercises to make sure I was saying letters correctly, putting a pencil. He still does that to all his students that I send them to this day. They be like, hey, when you were learning Spanish, did Will make you put a pencil in your mouth and pronounce this stuff? I say, yeah, bro. We all had to do it. Some vocabulary stuff and reading a story or a history thread in Spanish or something like that. No, no, no. You misunderstood me. What I was asking you was, could you tell me in Spanish what you did today? As in, I woke up at 8 o'clock. Then I did this. Then I did this. If I lived in a Spanish speaking country, I was thinking about hanging out in public areas and just listening on conversation. That's not gonna help you. Bro, my wife's first language is Spanish. Literally the first language she learned was Spanish. And every time, like, because she's Mexican and Guatemalan, like, when we were in Colombia, I basically had to translate for her, bro. Sometimes. Because she doesn't speak that dialect. And so if you're not gonna understand. You're not gonna understand locals talking amongst themselves. Even if you get to an advanced level, you'll just be like, what are they saying, bro? I probably could say like 10 words right now from Colombia, and Rolando probably wouldn't know them because he's not Colombian. So even Rolando, if Rolando sat outside and just listened to Spanish speakers talking in Colombia, he would just be like, damn, this is some heavy local slang. Hopefully my wife brings my water soon. I'm about to die of dehydration. Does Colombia have a very different dialect? Every single country has a different quote unquote dialect of Spanish. It's not actually a different dialect, but it's not really that much different than hold on one second.
I don't know which one you want, so I brought them all.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. I think I'm gonna go with Blue Typhoon. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so it's very similar to English. It's like if you people talking in the UK don't sound like us, right? Yeah, it's like Aussies versus US English. Um, it's like you can definitely, it's not going to stop you from having a conversation. But like I said, if you were listening in on two of them and they could really talk how they wanted to, you're going to be like, what are they saying, bro? There's a Mexican English teacher on YouTube who tells people to put a pen on their top lip to improve their pronunciation. Like up here? I can't pick you up, bro. You have to ask Axel. Um, no, Will make me put it in between my teeth. Like, right here, good. Hold on a second, y'all. I gotta try to pick this dog up. Because he's gonna just keep staring at me. Like a little beggar. You little beggar. You little begging dude. One second. I'm about to put my packet in my water bottle and then I'll be back. Tear here. Ooh. Berry Blue Typhoon.
I had a feeling you would pick blue, but I was like, let me just give him all the options. Or add a grape.
Wow, you're racist.
No, you always grab grape last time.
His name is Mr. Salas. Have you heard of him? No, bro. I watched a lot of those like YouTube channels when maybe like the first year I was learning, but I don't watch any of them now. So if he's somebody new, I would have never heard of him. My pronunciation is a little better than most because I spoke other languages growing up that have similar sounds. The hard R's were easy for me. Stuff like that was not as hard as it is for most English speakers. The soft T's are easier for me to pronounce too. Well, not a knock against you, but everyone thinks their pronunciation is good. So I don't actually know what your pronunciation is like. Like, I'm not joking, bro, when I say that literally everyone I talks to almost says exactly what you just said, bro. They're just like, yeah, No, my accent's good. My pronunciation is good. It doesn't give me trouble like it does most people. The thing is, like, you don't. How do I explain this? You would have to be judged by an outside person, also a person that is not a native Spanish speaker, because they're just gonna be like, "Wow, you're so good. Good job." They do that to everyone. Um, but like, no disrespect to any of the people that have told me that, but they tell me that, and then I hear it, and I'm like, "Oh, bro, you had me thinking you had some like really good pronunciation or something." But yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, man. It's all about just getting better. It's not easy to have good pronunciation when you haven't been speaking the language. It's not gonna be super easy. But eventually, with help, you definitely could have good pronunciation. Lots of people seem to think that pronunciation isn't important, but mom, I know some people that are learning, and I never want to be negative. I never want to put anybody down. But I'm like, man, okay, like you got some good speed, but I can't understand what you're saying, bro. And it's not because I don't speak Spanish, because I can understand native speakers. A lot of people that are starting off, they speak so fast and they're just, I don't know, man, they're just saying random words. And I'm like, bro, slow down. Learn to pronounce the words, bro. You can speak faster later. Yeah, it's extremely important, especially because here's the thing, every language has its rhythm and common words. So because you're learning, you're gonna say uncommon words. You're gonna say words that nobody says. And so if you're saying those words and you're not even pronouncing them well, people are gonna be like, "What is this guy saying, bro?" I remember, Rolando, you probably heard me say this before. I used to not understand what Will was saying. But he was like, "You need to pronounce the D correctly. It sounds like you're saying bull when you're trying to say all." And I'll be like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" But now, every time I hear a beginner Spanish speaker, I'm like, "Yep, it sounds like they're saying bull." They're like, Minda. And the soft R, a single R versus a double R. Usually, it just sounds bad and it doesn't cause a lot of confusion. But there are some words that need to be said specifically with a single R. Like the word for now versus the word for save. Ahora versus ahorra, right? You don't, if you say it the wrong way, you're saying a different word. But, anyways, like I was saying, with some focused work, I don't believe there's a single person on this planet that can't be speaking Spanish in 6 months. I'm not saying a super high level conversation, but you'll be able to hold your own. If someone didn't speak any English, you would be like, I can help this person, or I can tell this person my thoughts. I think I made a video. Yeah. I made a video this week about how people like do the wrong thing when they're learning. Like people will like know all this random vocabulary and stuff, and they wouldn't be able to tell me what they did today. They wouldn't be able to tell me their daily routine. They wouldn't be able to tell me what they're gonna do tomorrow. You know? And so yeah, you know how to say a waterfall and you know how to say the ocean, and all kinds of random shit. But you can't tell me what time you woke up this morning? That's crazy. And that is the reason that people can't have conversation. Because somebody will ask you, you know, Casey Steroid, and you can't answer them. That's about as basic as a question that you can get. So to me, I'm like, bro, if you're 6 months, 1 year, 2 years into your journey, and you can't answer the question, ¿Qué hiciste hoy? You're going about it wrong. To me, that's just my opinion. And what sucks is once you do it the efficient way, you just realize how much time you wasted. Once I send people to Will, you're like, damn, bro, it's been 3 months and I've learned way more than I learned like 3 years studying on my own. Because I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you're studying on your own. It's like if you want to be the best basketball player and you were like playing basketball on your own instead of like having someone guide you. You probably won't be good. I can write. I can write decent responses like that. Um, Decent responses to what? I don't know when that comment came. Damn, I wasted this. Hold on. Okay. To questions like Casey's doing. Okay, Casey's doing. Pero contéstame en español. And don't use a translator either, because that takes away. Because in a real conversation, you ain't gonna have no translator. Okay, I'm gonna help you out. Tell me in English what you think you're saying. In that specific sentence. Okay, yeah, that makes no sense. So what were you trying to say? Saludos, bro. Y'all see this guy, Joseph Smith? He's a great example of somebody that learned Spanish. I got up at 8 in my bed, but that's not the right conjugation for that. No, it's not. But check this out, though. This is what I mean. It's not, you don't want to think in English. This is why you need to speak with people so you can hear them say it and you could be like, oh, this is how people say they woke up, and this is how people say this or whatever, right? But then again, I wouldn't even say that like that in English. I got up at 8 in my bed. I don't think I would ever say in my bed after that. I think I would just say I got up at 8. But either way, dude, man, do you know how to conjugate in the past? Do you know how to say things in the past? I do, but it's not instinct. I don't know what that means, but it's just a yes or no question. Like, do you know, like, let's just use levantar. Do you know the past tense conjugations of levantar? Like, for example, first person, like, just to say I lifted. But I can't do it off the top of my head. I think that means you can't do it. If you gotta look it up, that means you don't. That means you don't know. Levante. Okay, so you do know. Or did you look that up?
Es bastante alucinante. Ya sabes, pensando en el hecho de que este era el mundo del océano. Es por eso que se pueden ver fósiles de conchas por aquí.
I didn't look any of this up. Okay, so you know how to say that I lifted or I got up in the past, levante, right? But for these kind of verbs, when you're talking about something that you did to yourself because you got yourself up out of bed or you woke yourself up technically, you have to say me levante, right? So levantarse, when you put the say on there like that, that's like talking about a third person. I know a little. I get I get confused with tenía en tuve, estaba, estuve. Um, a lot of that will work itself out. Ah, a lot of that will work itself out with having conversations. So, like I said, you'll hear how native speakers, um, you'll hear how they say it, and you'll be like, oh, okay. But in general, if you were doing something and the action was continuing, then you would use, tenía, está, blah, 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 blah. But if you're just talking about a single point in time, or if you put a time with whatever you're saying, then it's going to be better to say, tuve, estuve, whatever. Like, for example, with ages, like, you're never gonna use that singular version because, like, you were that age for a long amount of time, if that makes sense. You want to use levantarse conjugation? I knew that, so that's why it came out that way. Yeah, like I said, that's the kind of stuff you need to work on, bro. Like whatever books you're reading and stuff is good, but you really want to be able to like solidly talk about the stuff that you did today or the stuff that you do every single day. Like a lot of people that are learning know how to say like present tense stuff, right? Like their daily routine. But they can't talk about what they actually did today. But either way, if you can't talk about what you normally do on a day-to-day basis, you need to be doing that. If you can't tell me what you did today, well, that should be your focus. You should be able to say stuff in your house, you know. You should be able to pick up something and name it. You should know what this is. If you don't know what it is, you should find out. And you should be able to say, this is what I do with it. I have a good reading level in English, so it allows me to cheat when reading Spanish. And that's what I was saying earlier, though, bro. A lot of people think that they understand more than they do because they're seeing certain words and they're like, don't jump. Oh my God, he jumped. They're seeing certain words and they're like, oh, I know this word, I know this word. But they don't even realize a lot of these words are false friends or false cognates, right? They sound the same, but they're not the same. I just made a video earlier this week called like 10 mistakes that you're probably making in Spanish, right? And then there's a couple of false cognates. Like for example, I hear a lot of beginners, they'll be like actualmente, but like actualmente doesn't mean actually. So if you read that, you probably say, oh, I know what that means because I speak English. But you didn't actually understand what the person was saying. They have different contexts too. Yes, exactly. That's a storm? What does that mean? That's a storm? I don't know what that means. Tormenta is storm. I never said tormenta, bro. Oh, you thought I said tormenta when I said actualmente. No, that's what I'm saying. So, a lot of English speakers will use the word actualmente because they're thinking actually in their head, but actualmente doesn't mean actually in Spanish. And there's a bunch of other false cognates like that. False cognates. False friends. That reminds me, I made the when I was first learning, I made the critical error of asking my client if she was hot, but I said, "Estás caliente." And her face went so red, and I was like, "Oh shit." I was just thinking, I was like, "Oh my god!" I remember someone told me don't say it like that, but that's what happens. I was out in the field, I was practicing. I didn't know any better. Luckily, we had a good level of friendship, and she was like, "Ah, you're trying to say tengo calor, sí, tengo calor," and I was like, "Fuck!" Like after I said it, I knew something was off. I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, "That's not the way to say that," and I was like, "Ah, I know what I just said," but that's what happens, man. That's what happens. That's why you gotta get out there and practice. But yeah, other things. Um, like the difference between, like I just said in that video that I made earlier this week, soy bueno is not the same thing as estoy bueno. Very, 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 very different things. Bueno, buena, that's how you say somebody's fine. You want to say that girl's fine? Ooh, está buena. Está buena. So when you say estoy bueno, you're saying I'm sexy. That's not saying I'm good at this. If you say I'm good at this, you need to say soy bueno. But yeah, man, I've had 100 of those little instances. The more you learn, the more you learn that you said stuff wrong in the past. Sometimes I just think back on a conversation. I'm like, oh my God, that person had no idea what I was talking about. They couldn't have because I used the wrong word. Sometimes you don't realize it until like 6 months later and you're like, fuck, that dude probably thinks I'm weird, bro. Because sometimes like you say something and then they say it and you're like, oh yeah, he understood me. But they're questioning because they're like, that's what you meant to say, are you sure? And you're like, yeah. And then like I said, like 6 months later, you're like, oh man, I thought I was saying this word. And that slight pronunciation can just totally change everything, man. But that's the fun part. That's the fun part about language learning. You get better at communicating yourself, man. The more conversations you have, the more you can say stuff the way you want to say it. I'm trying to think of any other funny mistakes that I've made, but I can't think of any. I've never made the pregnant mistake, but I've heard other people make it. I've legit heard people say estoy embarazada. And I'm just like, oh man, they don't know. What else? What are some other false cognates? I can't think anymore, but it happens. It happens. So yeah, Sue, if I was you, I would work on saying your daily routine. I teach English to Spanish speakers. And I would say the ones that I teach, I'm not saying I'm the best teacher in the world or anything, but because I learned another language, I know what's necessary. And I didn't learn it as a kid. See, you learn when you learn stuff as a kid, it's different because you're a kid. You can talk to people all day. Kids come over here from other countries and um, they make friends and sometimes they forget their own language. There's lots of kids here that came from Latin America that came when they were like 9 years old and they barely speak Spanish anymore. It's because you're just speaking all day. Kids just talk their heads off, right? It's not as easy to do as an adult because we got jobs and all kinds of stuff. And so, um, yeah, when I teach these people English, I always start with the same thing. I want to hear your daily routine. And anytime I get on the call with them, I'm like, tell me what you did today. Because that is the kind of conversations that you're going to have all the time. If you can make friends that speak Spanish, just like in English, if they hit you up, they're going to be like, what'd you do today? What are you doing? What are you up to? And if you can't tell them what you did today, what kind of conversation are you going to have? Or they might ask you, what are you going to do this weekend? What are you going to do tomorrow? You know? You should be able to answer those simple questions pretty easily. I think people get too caught up in abstract stuff. And like I said, that's not the majority of the conversations you're going to have. Um, you meet some old lady, I don't know, anywhere, and you have a conversation, she's probably not going to be talking to you about some academic subject. She's probably going to ask about your life. What's your job? Oh, what is that? Can you tell me about your job? If you can't describe your job, that's not good. You should be able to describe your job. You should be able to describe your day-to-day life, talk about your family. So that's where I start at. That's for my people that are learning English. I'm like, bro, we should be able to talk about your family. We should be able to talk about your job. All kinds of common things. We should be able to talk about these easy, bro. Every time I get on a call, I'm like, tell me what you did today. Tell me what you did today. Tell me your daily routine. What do you normally do? And after they get better at that, then we can start talking about some more abstract stuff. Sometimes my students like randomly try to talk about feminism or something. I'm like, I don't think we're there yet. I don't think you can have that conversation. But you know, when you get that concrete base, you start feeling like, oh man, I think I can start talking about some other stuff, and that's good. You should eventually. You got to take steps up, but like I said, you're not gonna be able to express an abstract idea if you can't if you can't talk about the stuff in your immediate surroundings. You should know how to say blanket, you should know how to say pillow, you should know how to say I go to bed at this time, I wake up at this time. Today I woke up at this time. Today I'm going to go to bed at this time. Suvi, do you know how to say I'm going to blank?
Over millions of years, these islands, neighboring Colombia, became extraordinary evolutionary laboratories. Bizarre species found nowhere else on Earth emerged and thrived.
Boy, If you say bye, you're talking about somebody else. You're either talking to a person formally or you're talking about a third person. But for yourself, you have to say, boy, ah. But that structure is very useful um, because you can say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. That's the immediate future. Um, that's why I try, like, when people are learning, I'm like, bro, learn how to say that. And you can say a lot of stuff for the future. You don't have to necessarily immediately learn how to say the stuff in the future if you have that sentence structure. Um, like I said, because you don't have to conjugate the verb. So it's a lot easier to say voy a estar allá than it is to like try to think, what is the future? Estaré, estaré. Oh yeah, estaré. Instead of thinking of the conjugation, you can just say voy a estar, right? And so, and the same thing with the other conjugation, vas a, va a, van a, vamos a, right? You should know all of that stuff, and it works. It works in the past too. Iba, ibasa, ibana, ibamosa. So those kind of little structures. Again, a lot of these structures you will pick up from talking to a native speaker or anyone that speaks Spanish. They don't even have to be a native speaker, but a lot of structures you can pick up from them. Like um, I remember when I first started talking to Will, he would always say, "Oh, acabo de blah blah blah," and I'll be like, "Acabo de." And then like once I really like caught on to it, I'm like, "Oh, this is the best way to say I just did this. I just did this," instead of me like trying to think like of some complicated way to say, um, "I was doing this and then I just got finished." I can just say, "Oh, acabo de terminar con blah blah blah," right? So those those things you pick up from talking to people. Pick up a lot of stuff from talking to people. Another thing that I think is probably more helpful than the podcasts and stuff that people watch is watching videos, and like instructional videos, tutorial videos, um, like cooking, uh, anything, literally anything. You could watch a boxing tutorial because you're gonna learn stuff in context. You're gonna hear someone say, "Oh, then you're going to do this. It's important that you do this. Blah blah blah. You need to do this." So you learn so many structures. Like I remember a lot of this stuff I don't really remember, but there's a few things that I do remember for sure. I remember when I first learned the structure tener que, right? Because I knew tener meant to have, and I would someone would say, like, tengo que trabajar, and I'll be like, I have that. I have that to work. I have that to work. But I would keep hearing it. And then I'm like, oh, this is a way to express having to do something. Like, tienes que trabajar, tenemos que trabajar, tengo que ganar dinero, right? So a lot of that stuff you pick up from talking to people. Exactly, I just figured out acabo de, and yeah, and that works for all conjugations. You can say you just, he just, we just, acaba de llegar. I worked on that college stuff earlier in the month. That's good. But like I said, um, you got to put that stuff into practice. You should learn that structure and you should use it to talk about your daily routine. You should use it to talk about stuff that you did today. Like I said, to me, those are super important. Talking about your daily life. What else is important in a conversation? Negatives, telling someone not to do something, that is something that's important to learn to me. Sometimes I want to tell people, don't touch me. Don't talk to me like that. Don't yell at me. Or maybe you want to help someone. You say, no, don't go in there. Imagine not being able to say that. You're going to just say no. I'm trying to think of what I hear people do when they don't know how to use negatives. They usually just say no and then say the unconjugated verb because they don't know better. Which could be, it could be understood depending on the context, but the conjugation for the stuff is different too. What stuff? The conjugation for what stuff? But yeah, I always tell people anytime you have a conversation in English, if you care this much, you should think, can I say this in Spanish? And if not, you should figure out how to say it. That's what I always do. I'll be like, I just had a conversation about, I don't know, talking on the phone. Can I say this in Spanish? No, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to figure it out. When you issue commands, yeah, of course. Every conjugation is different, but that's what I'm saying. A command and a negative command are not the same thing. Like for example, if I say talk and don't talk, those are two different conjugations um, in Spanish. And so the other mistake that people make, if they know that you're not supposed to leave the verb unconjugated, but they might, like if they say like, oh, don't talk, they might say no me hablas, which is not the same thing as saying no me hables. It's two different. All right, I got one. No se versus no. I'm guessing that's supposed to be no lo se. Difference. There's not a huge difference. There's not a difference that I would explain. Um, to me, it's like the difference between. Um, Let me think of another expression that's similar. I can't think of another one. But my short answer is no, there's not a huge difference. And I'm going to think of another one, but I can't think of one right now. It's like I don't know versus I don't know it. Yeah, but that's not really a good explanation. That's why I'm trying to think of something else that's very similar in Spanish. Sometimes that low doesn't do a lot of work. Um, and sometimes you don't need it. Que versus loque. Depends on the context. But loque is like a way of saying, um, so like for example, if I say like, what I try to do is, then I'll say, lo que trato de hacer es, right? So you can't just say what I do. Like the way I said in English, what I do is this. I can't just be like, que hago es, no, lo que hago, right? But yeah, that low does a lot of work in places, and it does almost no work in some other places. I like these kind of questions though. These are good. Do 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 do. one thing you got to make sure you don't do is um, if you're talking about something feminine, sometimes people say lo, but they should say la, right? So maybe you're talking about a song or something, and then you'll hear English speakers say like, no, no lo conozco. But like you should say la because you're referencing a song. Falta kills me. So many ways to use it. Yeah, but that's like every verb in Spanish and English for that matter, bro. If you think about the word get, I know a lot of this stuff just because, like I said, I teach Spanish speakers. So they ask me like, "What does this word mean?" And I'm like, "Bro, it has 50 different meanings." So like the word get, I'll ask my students like, "What'd you get? What'd you get on your test?" And they're like, "Get?" And they're like, "Conseguir?" And I'm like, "It could be. You could be conseguir. It could be lograr. It could be ganar." It just depends, right? You can say get in so many different ways in English. Get away from me. Get off me. Get over there. Get money. Get back. Get up. Right? And so sometimes these words have 20 definitions, but you don't need to know every definition. You just need to understand the context that you're hearing it in. What's the biggest difference you see when people go from speaking English to speaking Spanish versus the reverse? What do you mean by that specifically? The biggest difference you see when people go from speaking English to speaking Spanish? Like the mistakes they're making, or what in particular? But yeah, I wouldn't focus on like I said, falta. Like I wouldn't focus on just like knowing all the definitions of it. Just figure out what it means in that moment, and it's gonna help you the next time that you encounter it.
You encounter.
Your encounter.
You encounter.
Learning English as a second language versus Spanish as a second language. Uh, there's not a huge difference as far as like. I think it's easier to communicate in English than it is in Spanish, but it's harder to master English than it is to master Spanish. And I don't really want to use the word master, but I'll say get to a good level because our pronunciation is all over the place. Like Spanish is 100% phonetic, or at least 99.9%, right? So that's what I tell people. If you get with a good teacher, get with a teacher, bro. Get with a good teacher that can make sure your pronunciation is good. Because once you can say those vowels, you never have to worry about them again. You can read something and know for 100% certain that you just read it the right way. In English, that's not the case. You could have lived in the United States for 20 years and you see Kansas and Arkansas, and you're going to be like, yeah, they have to have the same pronunciation. Or like I just gave this example the last live, my student was like, how do you guys know the difference between there, and there if they're all pronounced the same? I'm like, they're not pronounced the same. There, and there are not the same. Or were, where, and where, they're not the same. Were, where, they're not the same. But if you learn as a second language, that difference is going to be very hard to not only hear, but eventually you will hear the difference. Like, oh, where and weird, those are different. It's going to be hard for you to say it. Your whole life, you only made one sound with an E, and now someone's telling you there's 5 different sounds they could make, maybe more. I don't know. So that's the biggest difference. It's going to be way harder for them to get pronunciations correct versus, like I said, their language is phonetic. So once you actually learn how to pronounce this stuff. Because most English speakers that are learning Spanish, they never actually learn how to pronounce this stuff well. They tell themselves that they're pronouncing it well, but they think that the letters, for example, like, mm, I've seen people say like, "Oh, the Spanish E is like AY in English," and I'm like, "No, it's not. It's literally not." And so you hear people say like peso, um, just the vowels are short and they're hard, bro. They're a totally different sound than the English vowels. So I feel like if you're using English vowels to say them, like if you're like say it like this English vowel, like you're already in the wrong direction. So Spanish is only Latin based. It has some Greek words too. That throws a lot of people off too because like el mapa, el problema. Like you'll hear lots of learners saying la problema, right? Because somebody told them, oh, if it ends in an A, it's feminine. But Greek words, the words that came from Greek, they're not. El problema, el mapa. Um, there's a few other ones. And then whenever it's gonna be a cacophony, like for example, it's el agua, el águila, but las aguas, las águilas. For my girlfriend, I think mostly pronunciation. Where's your girlfriend from? I didn't even realize that. Yeah, a lot of people don't. I actually see people say it more often than I thought. I didn't like that was something that I learned pretty early from Will, so I didn't know that was a struggling point for people. There's some Arabic words too. There's a lot of Arabic words, bro. But it's not the same exactly. But yeah, there's a lot of Arabic words. Like camisa, camis, right? Basically the same word. A lot of Spanish words come from Arabic. Yeah. Okay, Honduras. Yeah, I remember. You got the golden ticket. Yeah, do y'all practice with each other a lot or no? Or I should say, do you practice with her? Or I guess if she's learning English and y'all would be doing like an exchange thing, right? But yeah, you got the golden ticket. That's the dream right there, man. If you got somebody that is a native speaker and they're your spouse, that makes it a lot easier to learn. Because you really will learn a lot of stuff in context, especially like emotionally charged stuff. Ah, she gonna yell at you. And that's the difference too. For example, in English, most of us know when words are inappropriate or when they hold a lot of, we'll say, emotion, right? Because you lived the whole life and your parents told you, hey, you don't say that word here, or you don't say that word at all. And you learned, oh, I can only say this with my friends. I can only say this here. I can't say this in front of older people. You learn all of this stuff through experiences. So when you become an adult and you learn this word, it's just a word to you. You have no emotions behind it. And you said it to someone else, and they might be like, what the fuck did you just say to me? You know what I mean? For example, in English, um, because of the way history happened, the word boy in the South is heavily, heavily racially charged. You're not gonna hear too many uh, men call each other boy, especially not a white man. I would never allow a white man to call me boy in the South. That's not that someone that learns English, they're gonna have no idea about that. There's people in the North that don't even know about that. Um, and so you might call someone boy. It happens because In Spanish, it's way more common to call somebody niño, muchacho, whatever. And so you might be like, "Hey, boy, can you help me with this?" And you might piss someone off. It's just what it is. Like I talked about here on before, in the particular part of Colombia that I lived in, the senora y senor are not words that they want to hear. It's not even gonna. It's not gonna get you like some respect. It's gonna just annoy them. Like, why are you calling me that, bro? Like, you think I'm an old man or what? So, you know, in Cali, Colombia, when I lived there, even when I'm talking to older people, I say mija, mijo, because that's how they talk in that city. That is the respectful thing to do. Que hubo, mijo, que hubo, mija. They don't want to be called senor. There's a few, there's here and there, but in general, what's crazy, I asked her about racism. She said it doesn't exist in Honduras, so it's a new word for her. It exists. Um, it's different. It's the same thing in Colombia. They'll say the same thing, but they have racism. One thing too is I don't know what your girlfriend looks like, but if you ask a very black person, like for example, the Garifuna people there, like the African people there, um, they can tell you about the racism that they've experienced. Like a lot, like even their dance that they brought to Honduras, like Honduras took that and like now people say, "Oh, this dance comes from Honduras." Like, no, it came from the African people that are in Honduras. Like, and yeah, like the stuff that people say to black people in those countries, sometimes it's so ingrained in the culture that they don't even see it as racism. And I would say that like we're aware more and we care more in the states, so it is different. It is different. Yeah, it's tough to explain, but it exists. But I agree with her. I agree with her when I say that it's very different. They experience it in a different way. They handle it in a different way. Hey, Felipe. Felipe, I've been missing your slang that you bring to the chat, bro. I haven't had to explain any slang in a while. For those of y'all that don't know, Felipe is from Brazil. Specifically, I believe Rio, right, Felipe? You are from the big city. What are you looking at?
Cause how much longer are you gonna be in here?
10 more minutes.
Okay, well I'm not leaving.
Don't care.
I dare you to finish it.
Hmm?
I dare you to finish it.
Dare me to finish it?
Yeah, let's sing.
Oh, don't care. Plus you're white.
Give me my pen.
No, I'm using it for my elbows. You have to wait 10 minutes.
Extremely rude.
Felipe, how have you been, man? You got any new slang for me to tell you about?
No, I'm not terrorized here.
Do I care about the Olympics? Of course. I'm a red-blooded American.
Okay.
I bleed red, white, and blue. Nah, actually, I was joking about that, but I do care about the Olympics. I'm gonna be watching track. I've been watching boxing, and I watch weightlifting. Outside of that, no, I don't really care. Oh, brother, I'm about to block Axa. She's literally right beside me, and she's right in the chat. Yeah, I'm putting her on a timeout. I'm blocking her right now. Why are the Chinese so good at Olympic weightlifting? Besides steroids, they have a lot of people. So it's just like old school Russians. They can put them through the ringer, and whoever makes it, you make it, and who doesn't. If you break your body, they don't care. So they get these kids, put them in athletics. When they're old enough, they start lifting weights, and they go hard. Whoever makes it is gonna be good. Whoever doesn't, good luck. Yes, Felipe. That's how long you haven't been in the chat. You didn't even know I came back to the United States. I moved back. Yep, he abandoned me. Crazy. Felipe, we need to visit Brazil. Are you gonna be our tour guide? I'm not walking around Brazil by myself, bro. I'm too scared. Damn, it has been 2 months, huh? That's crazy. Brazy. Brazy. All right, how much do we have to pay you to be our tour guide? This is the question that determines if we hire you or not. Or else we're gonna hire someone else that we don't trust.
Kendrick with us.
I don't trust Kendrick. I really don't. You know, it's funny. I have no idea how good his Portuguese is.
Right.
I just know that he learned and he can get around Brazil by himself, but I don't speak Portuguese, so I wouldn't know if he wasn't actually good. Is Brazil that bad? I don't know. I'm not trying to find out. I think, I don't know, man. I've seen some violent videos in Brazil, and I heard they got a pickpocketing problem. But, you know, people say that about Colombia, too. Sometimes you just got to know where not to go. But I don't know where not to go, and I don't speak Portuguese, so I don't want to get caught in the streets without any Portuguese. And I'm like, please, don't kill me. I don't even know how to say don't kill me in Portuguese. Felipe, how do I say don't kill me? If you're not a local, it's easier to find yourself as a target. Exactly. That's the point. In Colombia, I knew where not to go, and we speak Spanish, so. No en mate. Oh, that's almost Spanish, bro. So if I said it in Spanish, they would know what I was saying. I'm like, no en mate, no en mate. They'll be like, okay. All right, we're not going to kill you because you asked nicely. Wait, how do I say please in Portuguese? I'll say the first part in Spanish, and then I'll say please in Portuguese, and they'll be like, you know what? You're all right. We're not going to kill you because you took the time to learn 2 Portuguese words. Oh, it's por favor, bro. I can't just speak Spanish. No me mate, por favor. I just gotta learn I gotta get the Brazilian intonation. Then they'll be like, was that Spanish or was it Portuguese? And then they might not kill me. This was a very productive live. I learned don't make fun of your girlfriend if she's on her period. She left me. I think she was probably already about to leave you, bro. Because that's kind of crazy. But, like, why were you making fun of her, though? Did she just walk straight out the door? Or did you just come home and she was gone, or what? She blocked you? Yeah, I think she might have been waiting on that, bro. She was looking for the excuse. Because she was making fun of how short I was. Why you so short, bro? You must have said something really rude back. What'd you say back, bro? She made fun of how short you were, and what'd you say? You said, shut up, fat bitch. I want to see what you said so I can tell you if you were justified in being blocked. Oh, you said I'm not gonna say? Oh, I know it was your fault then. Yeah. Nah, yeah, I said she was looking for an out, but now that he said he's not gonna say, that means it was bad. That means it was really bad.
Maybe he deserved to be left.
I told her she drips more blood than a 5-hour shower. That's not even bad. That's just weird to say.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, I would have blocked you too, homie. I ain't gonna
Yeah,
lie.
that is weird. Not even offensive.
That's
Just
what I'm
weird.
saying. I was just saying, what did I just read,
A
bro?
5-hour shower?
Rich Patrick, how old are you? And she just walked out. Hmm. Sorry to hear that, man. She's a drama queen. Yeah, she not gonna block you talking like that, bro. You blocked for good.
Yeah, this lets me know enough.
Oh man. Rich Patrick's not telling his age, so he's either 12 or he's 65.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. Because old people be saying as much
Weird
crazy stuff
shit,
as young
yeah.
people. How old do I think you are? 12.
If you're 12, you might get a pass, but I don't understand why she would walk out the house. She's 12. She allowed to be open there?
I don't know. Yeah, you gotta be 12 or 67. Last one. Espérame versus esperamos. Difference? Yes, there is a big difference. He said, holy crap, you're right, I'm 12. So, I don't know if you actually meant to put espérame. Oh, you put espérame, my bad. Okay, so espérame is a command. That's saying, like, wait, or wait for me. But if you put, like, the second one that you put, that's saying, like, let's wait. Keep changing. That's not what I meant. Okay, what did you mean? Or you mean esperamos? Oh, you want to know the difference between espérame and espérame? Is that right one? The last one you put, is that the correct one that you mean to put? You meant to put? Because if that's what you meant to put, the difference is tú versus usted. If you want to speak with usted, you say espérame. Espere. But if you want to speak with tú, you say espera. If you want to speak with vos, you say espera. Esperame. Did I watch the Deadpool movie? No, I didn't. But I just watched a video on Twitter of these Christians saying, "Oh my God, this is so offensive." We walked out, and I'm like, I'm about to go watch it. It was the best advertising they could have done. So I'll probably watch it this week. Do you have any advice of how to get a 14-year-old girl back? Nah, dog. Just play sports. Move on with your life. Alright, I'm gonna wait to make sure that he understood the difference between espérame and espérame, and then I'm gonna get off. You get it? Any other questions before I get off? You got about 1 minute. 1 minute to ask, and 1 minute for me to respond. But you came with some good questions tonight. We need more lives like this where you ask these questions. I like this. All right, you good to go? All right, well, you have a good night. Suvi, have a good night. Felipe, have a good night. Rich Patrick, I don't know if you're actually trolling or if you really are 12, but if you are 12, it's bedtime, so you have a good night too. And I will see y'all probably on Wednesday, I think. If y'all got any questions, just shoot me a message. I'm always willing to help. Peace.